Hey folks, this is Bailey from Dank Wargaming,
Hey, this is Heath with Team Table War Hawaii.
and welcome to the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast, where our aim is to provide Dark Angels players with the tactical and hobby skills that they need in order to enjoy this wonderful hobby of ours. Welcome to the May episode, and unfortunately this month we don't have any new releases to talk about, but we do have a few lists that are in the top 10 in MetaWatch before we move into Heath's fantastic experience at the Dallas Open, which will be followed up with a check-in on the hobby challenge from last month. And last but not least, we'd love to hear our community comments from last month. So, as mentioned, no new releases. It's kind of odd that's happened, but we knew it was going to happen eventually. We can't get all the free goodies forever. But moving to the Meta Watch, we have the Midwest Conquest GT. It's 5 round 31 players in Independence, Missouri. Jeremy Capco took home first place. So congratulations, Jeremy, on that. And he took the Iron Storm Spearhead with an aptly named list. I'm a stupid Marine player, so keep the fun list names going. He's
Just
got the
self-aware. That's good. Self-aware.
yeah. And in typical fashion, right, we have the Lieutenant Combi Weapon, Tech Marine, right? 3 Inceptor squads, Dark Shroud, three triple Redemptors, Repulsor Executioner, Scout squads. You get the idea. So it's very similar to what we have been seeing. It's similar to what we've been talking about. We'd see with the Storm Raven point hike, but again, the point hiked Inceptors doesn't seem to have killed them off just because they're just so useful that it's worth taking the penalty of having their points go up. So congratulations to Jeremy on that, and loving the list. Moving on. Also in that event, we had
one of the things I think is interesting about this list. Oh, wait, just a second. One of the things I like about this list is that he used a combi weapon lieutenant as his third character instead of a third tech marine, right? And the combi weapon lieutenant has the Master of Machine War on it, and whereas the two tech marines are the Target Augury and the Adept of the Messiah. I just thought that was an interesting little piece. And it with the 3 Inceptors, he's got a little bit more objective play, and drop 3 squads of 3-man squads of Inceptors. And the combat lieutenant, if your vehicles die, he's still a lone op, and he has the reactive move stuff. So that's something I don't think we've seen in this list archetype before. So I just thought that was worth mentioning.
Right, and that helps to where, like, if you accidentally misplay and put your tech marine too close to one instead of equidistant from all 3, where they can try and go in and snipe him, he doesn't have that issue because he's always lone op. So I could see that. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Love that. And then Alex Vien also was at that list, or was also there, and he got 5th place, and he was running a defiant continuation of the double Storm Raven list, according to Goonhammer. Finally, going into the Dallas Open.
And then so Mr. Kit Smith Hanna. So the name of the list is Don't Worry, plus 20 on Storm Ravens was enough of a nerf. So there you go. My friend Todd Kincaid from Table War Hawaii was also at this event, and he played Kit, and he came back from that game with just a look of just sheer agony on his face, just like, well, I don't know what just happened there. So, yeah, it was a well played list. I didn't meet him, I didn't see him, so I can't speak to anything personal of it. But yeah, it's got 3 Redemptors, it's got double Storm Raven, and just the usual kind of stuff you expect there. So, and it came 9th out of 237. So
that's pretty good.
It was well piloted.
All right. So Heath, what about your own experiences then at the Dallas Open?
Okay. So I went to the Dallas Open, as was alleged. So it's a 3-day event held in Arlington, Texas, at the Arlington Esport Arena. So the Arlington Esport Arena I've never been there before, but they've held events there a couple times. It's apparently part of the Arlington Museum of Art. So you walk in there, and it's this huge hall, and they have this really crazy looking stage. Here, I'm going to share my screen real quick if I can remember how to do that. So, share screen. Okay, so yeah, this is like the stage that they played
Okay.
on.
Yeah, that
Um,
thing's really cool.
which is really crazy, right? And so they had like the two stream tables, and then the commentators sitting off to the left and the right. And this is like the overall. This is a bit of a potato picture, but they had these huge video boards in the back, which had like graphics and stuff, and then they had like the round timers and all that kind of stuff, which was really nice. So it was a nice venue. I really liked it. I would do again, and they had good food too. You get like brisket
Always key.
tacos and brisket nachos and that kind of stuff.
Ooh.
But
Ooh, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it was big enough that they didn't have more than 4 tables without an aisle, so you weren't like walking for 5 minutes to get around the other side of your play space. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, it was overall just a really nice venue. So I was a fan. Um, so let's see. My first, I'll just go over my list real quick. It's pretty similar to what you guys have seen, what I talked about on the last episode. Um, so the man, how do I stop the screen share real quick? Just to clean it up a little bit. There we go. Stop. Okay. So my list. So I kind of characterize this as a Dreadwing list. Is how I made it more Dark Angel-y. So the list name is the Dreadwing Host of the Eschaton. So it's got Azrael,
Excellent.
a Judiciar. The Judiciar has a War Tempered Artifice, so he has a Strength 10 Relic Blade. It's got a
Yes.
Lieutenant. The Lieutenant has the Mastercrafted Bolter and a Mastercrafted Power Weapon, and he has Champion Humanity, and he is my Warlord because for the Dreadwing, right? For the wings of the Hexagrammaton, you would usually have a voted lieutenant that would represent that wing in combat. So that was kind of one of my nods to the fluff.
Excellent.
And I had Samael, right? And then I took some of what Gerard was talking about with us on the last episode and implemented that. I have a Razorback with twin las cannons,
Oh, yeah.
and then in that Razorback is a Devastator squad with multi-meltas. And y'all, this was an MVP unit.
Excellent.
It
Love
was
to hear
really
it.
good. I'm a big fan of this unit. So they, I played Knights twice, and when I said, and they both got real scared looks on their faces when I said, "Oh, by the way, this," it's like, oh no. So, other than the Devastators, I had a unit of Blade Guard veterans, five Blade Guard veterans. I paid for 6, but I took 5 because my plan was to deploy them inside a repulsor with the next squad, which is Eradicators. So I had 3 Eradicators, 2 Melta rifles, and a multi-Melta. And then I had a squad of Deathwing Terminators with a Cyclone missile launcher, 2 Power Fists, 2 Chain Fists, and a Power Sword. Then I had the big full squad of Hellblasters that Azrael and the Lieutenant join. A squad of Ravenwing Black Knights for Samael to basically be the advance to charge and get him the anti-vehicle, anti-monster 4+ rule. And then I had 2 repulsors, one with a las cannon, one with a heavy bolter, a unit of scouts, and a storm speeder Thunderstrike. So that was what I ended up stabilizing on. I had to go down from the Land Raiders because I needed the points to get the Razorback and the Devies in. And honestly, like the repulsors are good. And I'll tell you as we go through this, I started to develop some tactics with this, and this list has a lot of tools, and it had the tools I think to win all but probably one of my games. So
nice.
There you go. All right. Any questions about the list? Okay. So
no, I don't think so. I
all
like
right.
it.
So basic plan with this list. So basic plan with this list is Hellblasters in one repulsor, Eradicators and Blade Guard in the other repulsor, and then multi-meltas in the Razorback, and you can just basically stage up and then go whichever direction. This game, obviously, since it's a GW event, they use the GW terrain layouts, and that was one of the things that I did not properly train for. So those terrain layouts give you a lot of line of sight blocking, which is good because it keeps my stuff from getting aced on turn one. But it really kind of constricts the movement of those, big butt tanks. So there's not a
Yeah.
lot of ways to get the repulsors or land raiders out of your little safe deployment zone. But the little tanks you can. A lot of times there's a breach in the walls on your little corner where you can just nooge straight through. So just make sure you talk about it with your opponent and agree what can go where. And that was something that we had a great time doing. So, all right. So game one, I played into Black Templar.
Okay.
Gentleman's name is Anthony. Basically, it was the Black Templar are basically loyalist world eaters. Let's not mince words. He had a unit of Terminators. He had a unit of heavy intercessors to hold his backfield. And then he had a blob of 20 initiates, 20 plus initiates with characters attached. He had a blob of 16 Sword Brethren with Helbricht, right? 15 Sword Brethren with Helbricht. And they were in a Land Raider Crusader. And then he had a Redemptor, and then Hellblasters and an Impulsor. And it was just, everything has to feel no pain. Everything's going to come at you and just basically wah. So the mission was Scorched Earth, Chilling Rain, Dawn of War. So one of the things I like about the GW is our player pack. They gave us these little cards.
Oh, yeah. Those are very helpful.
Which basically described each of the... Yeah, and that was really nice, right? And then you get to your table, they have the 3 different layouts set up, and you just, boop, jump on there, right? So that was cool. So we deployed Dawn of War. I have a picture for that, which I think I dropped into our messenger chat. And so if you can throw that up on the screen whenever and edit. But basically, he deployed his stuff right in the middle, like on the deployment zone line. His Sword Brethren, or his Land Raider with the Sword Brethren and his initiates, and is just right across the front. And I kind of deployed a little conservatively, right? And then he went first. He just pushed everything up, and okay, and this is exactly what my list is supposed to do, right? So my turn one, my Hellblasters, which are on my left flank, moved up, jumped out, pointed at his Redemptor, and aced it. Gone. He's like, they're -1 damage. I'm like, I don't care. Goodbye. Right? It's gone. Right? And then my my Razorback jumped all the multi-meltas out. They ran through the wall, advanced, got up to firing range. It advanced around the wall, right? And then set up, so it could shoot the initiates, right? My Eradicators jumped out of the same thing. My Repulsor moved up, jumped out. Anyway, and my Samael came out to the middle of the board. And by the time the first shooting phase was done, he had lost his Redemptor. He lost an entire 20-man initiate squad. And he had 4 wounds left on the Land Raider. Samael charged in and killed it in combat.
Yeah.
And that was ouch, right? So just mushroom clouds go off. And that was he was concerned. But those Sword Brethren, man, they got a Land Raider and they charge and they just kill everything, right? And my Hellblasters came over and started shooting, and they charged into my... So the Blade Guard are there to like kind of absorb charges because they have fights first. Those Sword Brethren do not care about fight first. -2 on the power weapons is just not enough, especially because they have 3 wounds each. But my Sword Brethren, my Blade Guard fought first and they got charged, and they killed, and the Justiciar picked out and killed Helbricht with his precision. So that was nice. But yeah. So anyway, on turn 2, I rapid ingressed my Deathwing Terminators on his backfield objective, basically like right outside of it. And then, he had already committed forward. He couldn't go back. Right. And so I was able to, the next turn, move up, kill all of his stuff, sit on his objective. And because of my shooting killed his heavy intercessors that were sitting in his backfield, my Terminators just stood there, did the action, burned his home objective. and that was what ended up being
Nice.
swinging the game. So the final in that one, we made it to the end of turn 4, and then it was lunch, but it was 61-55 my favor. So
Okay.
yeah, that was
That's not terrible.
was it. So anyway, so I'm 1-0.
Close.
Yay, 1-0. Yeah, and I don't know if we didn't. I think I still could have pulled it out. I could have. I was going to pull it out if we went all the way to 5, but yeah. So anyway, so there we go. Stuff I learned from that was the mobility of being able to jump out, advance, move with those multi-meltas was crazy. Just shooting into the, here's 8 melta shots, right, plus a plasmic pistol, right, re-rolling wounds, right, all those initiates are just gone, right, and the bikes and Samael shooting into the initiates, gone. It was just so much damage, right. Anyway, So feeling pretty confident. So I go into game 2, right. So game 2 was into chaos, and it was a really interesting list, which I could probably look up if I try. I'm working on. Yeah, into a guy named Daniel Richardson. So Daniel had a polite hello from the Eye of Terror. Was the name of it. So this was the ritual, sweeping engagement, and scrambler fields was the mission. And between game 1 and game 2, I just ran into Adam Camilleri because I run into Adam Camilleri all the time somehow. I don't know. But anyway, he came by, looked, and he was like, "Oh yeah, how'd you do? Oh, my first game's cool. You want to play on stream?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm good enough to do that. I'll see if I can get you on the stream." Thank God he did not get me on the stream. I got straight dumpstered. So anyway, so here's how this played out, right? So the next one is the ritual, which is the one where you basically have to create your own objectives. I did not practice this mission. And so I was like,
I hate this one.
All right, here we go. And one of the weaknesses of this list is it's got basically the bare minimum like objective play pieces, because the transports are kind of supposed to do that for you as you're moving forward. And the other thing is the scrambler fields means you cannot arrive from deep strike onto an objective. And that is like all of my tactics with how mission work, with how I play my list. So I didn't have any practice into the scrambler field set of the rules. So I was basically trying to come up with the stuff as I went, and I made a lot of mistakes. So his list basically was a Chaos Lord, 2 Masters of Execution, a Master of Possession, cultists, then 2 small legionary squads, 2 rhinos, and they went with an Master of Executions, and I think the Chaos Lord each. Then he had triple Chaos Destructor Predators, a big unit of Chosen. So I guess the Chosen were with one of with the Chaos Lord. A Hellbrute, a Mauler Fiend, a big unit of Possessed, a unit of Raptors, and a Nurgling. And so it's a great list, right? Those Destructors throw out a crap ton of fire, just like we talked about in the last episode. I was on the receiving end of it. They're dark pacting every turn. He's rolling 5s to crit because they're all. Anyway, it's nuts. It's crazy. Yep. So huge range damage output. He didn't get a chance to use a lot of it because the mission, the board, the terrain constrained a lot of its firing angles. But so anyway. I don't think I have any pictures from this one because reasons, but it was the corner to corner, and he went first.
Yep.
He moved his Raptors up, and he moved Nurglings up, and he put on the center objective, right? Because you remove all but the center objective for the ritual, right? And it's like, okay, well, I need to be somewhat aggressive, and he made a ritual objective on his side of the board, kind of in no man's land, just developed his position a little bit. So I once again jumped my multi-meltas out, ran to the center of the board, erased all of the raptors charged the Nurglings, thinking, okay, I'm just going to punch them to death. They're just Nurglings. That's not the case, and that was a mistake. So because me charging them got them into the center objective, got them into range of him moving stuff out of another rhino to basically come in and countercharge them. So I traded them, and that was probably a bad idea. I was able to make objectives with my Ravenwing squad and like one of the transports, but yeah, I really did have a struggle with how to move and think about this mission. I elected to keep my Deathwing Terminators in reserve, which I don't know if that was a good idea because I can't drop them on an objective, right? So what are they doing, right? So they basically just ended up dropping into my deployment zone to be a speed bump for some chaos stuff. And then on my left flank, I had moved up. I moved my repulsor out, jumped the Eradicators out, moved the Thunderstrike up, and it got line of sight. And I killed one of his rhinos. And when he and then so I'm like, cool. I'm removing his mobility. I'm starting to move. And then when next turn he kind of came to countercharge me, I realized that what I should have done was when I jumped the Eradicators out, I should have put them in front of the transport so that when he had to charge them to get to the repulsor, and so I could use the repulsor's rule to jump them back in, and then he's going to kill the repulsor because possessed kill whatever they touch, and that way when they jump, they would jump out on the other side of it and be safe and not be touched. Instead, I gave him the ability to charge the repulsor and the Eradicators, kill both of them. Then the Blade Guard jump out, right? And then that became kind of a common theme for this game. This tournament was me was not correctly playing the inny outy transport rules, because I think to master this list you need that. And I had probably 2 games with this list before I went to the tournament, which, boys and girls, is not enough, and I'm well aware of that. But that was the constraints that I had on my time. So, anyway, so long story short, your boy lost 59-80, and I'm honestly surprised I put up 59 points. I killed a lot of stuff, but. We both drew tempting target and assassination on turn 1. So I tempted him with the center objective. That's why he went in there, and then he tempted me with a different one, and I couldn't get to it. Right, and then he got secure no man land, extend battle lines. He folded that. Right, I got bring it down, defend stronghold. Right. Anyway, so it just kind of and I got beat on primary. I got blanked on primary on turn 4, and that's really just killed it. So, and I keep forgetting that you don't get points for holding your backfield objective on this in this one. There's no primary points awarded for that, right? So I really just was not practiced with this mission, and if I had played it, a couple times, if I had the requisite level of experience with the mission set going in, probably would have done better. But every time I draw the ritual, I'm like, I don't want to do this. So. All right. Anyway, but
for me, the big thing on the ritual is because we like to play with these little objective marker pads, right? That are the whole pad,
right? It's just annoying.
You gotta keep the little 40 mil bases that the objectives actually are in your hand, and if you have some sort of thing to show you where your deployment zones are, keep them mindful while you're playing. Because the first couple times I played this mission, I kept trying to think I had to get the whole pad out of my deployment zone. No, which is not the case.
You're right.
And that cost me a game. And so you got to sit there and think. And then when you're deploying, and then a lot of this for me is also the deploying. Like when you can put an infantry unit near a line of sight blocking wall where they can walk up to it and basically spit the objective out on one side of the wall, but stay on their side and be blocked and hold the objective or things like that. And then you got to kind of try and make yourself like a little triangle where you can build like a little house of pain. Where it's like, okay, I have these objectives. If you want to come fight me for this, you got to come over here kind of in pieces where I can grind you up in the meat grinder. And that's where I feel like this mission is such a struggle is people go out and they have you have a game plan for your list, right? And you have a certain deployment that you do. And
The
you have to have a
ritual
separate
really
game
messes
plan
that
for the
up.
ritual. You have to
The
play the
ritual really messes
primary.
it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and also, like you said, you have a game plan for your list, right? You have certain tactics that you like to use, right? And those are really important because you don't have the brain power to think of every possible way to utilize your list in situ in the game, right? So you have to have pre-planned responses to certain things. And a lot of mine are about how to play the scouts, what to do with the terminators, right? Blah, blah, blah. And in Scrambler Fields just F's all that up.
Yeah,
it's all gone. And I was really off put by not having my usual bag of tricks for that. So Daniel had a really good list and he knew how to play it, and he was more comfortable with the mission than I was. And having a unit of sticky stuff and enough, just little pieces. Yeah. Anyway, so that's how that went. Anyway, so now I'm 1-1. Hoo-yah.
Yep.
Hoo-yah 1-1. And then I go into Mr. JT, Jordan Taylor, playing Imperial Knights. And he had a really nice looking list. Like, I mean, it was nice. It was cool. It was very good. So I will again.
Yeah, I'm all. If you're gonna beat me up, at least have a cool looking army, so I can
least have a nice looking army, bro.
Getting beaten up. That's how I feel.
I don't have a picture of his whole army, but I can tell you what it was, and I have a couple of images. So we had Canis Rex, a Knight Castellan, and then 2 Armiger Helverins, 3 Warglaves, a Calidus, an Eversor, Inquisitorial Henchman, and Voidsman at Arms.
Okay.
So, yeah. And this is where I learned to respect Canis Rex. My lord. So I knew when we were setting up, he was measuring everything and just kind of like, you could hear him talking out his game plan. Okay, well, your threat range is this, and I move this, and I sit here, and if you sit here, I can touch, my big knight can touch the wall, behind in my deployment zone and shoot over it, and you won't be able to respond if you jump out with your transports and all this kind of stuff. I was like, okay, I'm in for a business, right? This guy knows what he's about, right? So, and his Knight Castellan had Mysterious Guardian on it, so he could pick it up at the end of my turn and drop it somewhere else once per game.
Boy.
Yeah. Which is, once again, they don't fight in combat. It's really good for developing line of sight. But so anyway, the mission was scroll down. So search and destroy hidden supplies and priority targets. Right. So priority targets is, I'm pretty sure it's like hold more, because purged foes kill more. I don't know. So yeah. Long story short, I got beat 50-86. And this game, probably the clutch play I spread out my little core in the middle, right, with my eradicators, my transport with my eradicators, blade guard, right, the multi-meltas, all kind of in the middle of the board, right? So the multi-meltas were on the left, and my Hellblasters, their pulsar on the right, with my bikes kind of in the middle, the Terminators in reserve, and scouts doing scout things. So he moved to the middle of the board. I think I went first. I kind of moved up a little bit, didn't really show much. He moved up, took the middle of the board with his his chaff units. And I got a really strong advance roll on my repulsor with my Hellblasters. I crossed an open line of sight to the right, put it in the corner, and like one of the corners, to try and anchor that side. And I was thinking, okay, if he comes in, he shoots Canis Rex. Maybe he kills it, maybe he doesn't. If they die, they pop out. And he has known that. So he's set up so that I can't shoot the Hellblasters back into his big knight, but he also had an Armiger and Canis Rex over there, right? And then, so he shot the big knight into it, didn't kill it, so the repulsor's down at like 5 or 6 wounds, right? And then he shot his Armiger Warglaive into it, right? The Warglaive, doesn't hurt it. He fails to wound. Then I pop the Hellblasters out, and they just right as the Warglaive and erase it. It's gone. Right. So okay,
Yeah.
so now I've got my Hellblasters with Azrael as a screen for the impulsor, or for the repulsor. So then I'm like, okay, and I'm thinking, okay, what he's going to do is he's going to charge Canis in, right? I've got a 4-up invul save, right? That's all great, right? I will tank that with the Hellblasters. I'll lose a few, right? And then I'll fall back, shoot. I've got the repulsor, and I'm going to kill it. Well, y'all, then he said the words I had never considered before was, I'm going to tank shock with this Imperial Knight.
Yeah.
And then I realized how badly I had messed up. So when Canis Rex tank shocks, he rolls 22 dice for tank shock.
Yeah.
So he did like 10 mortal wounds. Right? I popped Azrael's Watcher. I saved about 4 of them. So I lost 3 guys. Right? And whatever. Oh boy. Right? And then he swings, zoom, and his sweep attack has like 18 attacks. He crits on 5s, and I lost basically the rest of the unit. So what I should have done was, when he charged the Hellblasters, I should have jumped them into the repulsor, acknowledged that I was going to lose the repulsor anyway. He blows it up, I jump them out, and now they're safe. I did not do that.
Yep.
Therefore, I lost both of those units because the repulsor, So, because he was able to, I was thinking, well, at least I will be able to save the repulsor. But no, he killed a bunch of Hellblasters and then consolidated into the repulsor, and I couldn't do it anyway. So I kind of got the worst of both worlds. So that's kind of where we were at, if you can see the screen there. So, so of course, what happened was I was like, okay, I'm going to have to fall this thing back. I jumped the Eradicators out. I set up to shoot it. Oh, wait, I have to do battle shocks. So I roll battle shocks. The repulsor is battle shocked. Okay. I fall it back. I have to take a desperate escape test. It fails the desperate escape test.
Oh, no.
So it dies.
No.
Okay. Does it explode? It explodes. It does 6 mortal wounds to Canis Rex in its explosion.
That's pretty
So the Tech Marine driving it just panics, hits the rod eject button on its reactor and just goes nuclear. Self detonates its ammo and does a lot of damage to Canis Rex. Anyway, it was just what is going on here? What is going on here? So yeah. So that's kind of, once again, the key part of the game. There's a lot of other stuff that happened, but I don't have a video of it, and this is game 3. I'm a little fried, but I had Eradicators kind of saying in the middle that he says, I'm going to fall back. I'm going to move with Canis Rex over here. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to Overwatch. He was like, well, maybe I won't do that. Hold on, let me think. No. So I had Eradicators standing on the other side of this wall, just holding Canis Rex at threat for Overwatch because he was down to like 8 wounds at this point. Anyway, so yeah.
The annoying thing about Canis is if you kill him, then you got to kill the little pilot guy, or it doesn't mean anything. Every time I played into him,
you got to kill the little dude. Yeah. So anyway, end of the game. Like I realized I had lost, but I was able to get my bikes. So I held the bikes in reserve. I rapid ingress them to try and be sneaky. That didn't really work out for me. I don't have that technique or that tactic mastered yet. But I was able to charge Canis Rex with the bikes, and I was able to kill Canis Rex's hull with Samael on the charge, and then he blew up. Oh, sorry, no. I moved, shot Canis Rex. He died to the shooting, and I had moved on to the objective. Good. And then Hector jumps out behind a wall. I charge Hector, just get out of here, right? So moral victory to some extent, but I lost, right? Anyway, so
that's the key to me to big tournament gaming, especially when you're there for a while. So sometimes you got to create little narratives for yourself inside. Yeah. I think we've talked about this before. Like there was an Adepticon where the guy didn't have to let me do it, but I was like, hey man, like you guys have beat us by so many points. Give me the chance to make this one miraculous hero play just to see if it works, just so I can walk away happy, even though I know I've lost. And they were like, you know what, man, you've been a good sport. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just got to look at this game like, okay, I lost by 40 points, but man, I got to whoop on Canis Rex, and it felt so good because of all the times Canis has beat me up over the years. Anytime I get a chance to kill him, I'm taking it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a rough game. He was a very smart player. The Thunder Strike did not last long because one of those Helverins drew line of sight to it and just shot it to ribbons. I was able to get one sneak play on him. He deployed his Calidus like way on his left-hand side, or my left-hand side, his right. And on turn one, I was able to move my Razorback, jump out with the multi-meltas, just get inside of her loan-up range and ace her. And he didn't know that you could jump out of vehicles after you moved. He's like, "Is that a thing? You didn't tell me that." I'm like, "No, that's not a this vehicle thing. That is an every vehicle in the game thing." He's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Okay, okay, now I do. Cool. So yeah. Anyway,
the one thing I wanted to ask, they're thinking about how you got aced on that Thunderstrike. What would you feel like if you'd been able to rapid ingress or deep struck the Thunderstrike with or without the rapid ingress? Because you can deep strike it, so therefore you could rapid ingress.
I thought about that. I thought about it, but I didn't, and I don't know why I didn't. Just because I think I wanted to make sure that I could get the +1 to wound early if I needed it. Because I knew there's just monsters, there's vehicles everywhere, right? There's just vehicles everywhere.
Right.
So I knew I was gonna need it. I didn't know when I was gonna need it, but I wanted to have the option to have it turn one. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So I had a nice little bit of, like I said, my once again, the multi-melter Devastators did straight work, y'all. They did so much work in this game. They killed the Calidus, and they probably killed, I think, 2 Armigers. In conjunction with that Storm Speeder. And if I had just been a little smarter about how I just realized I was going to lose that repulsor, but I could have preserved the Hellblasters, I think I would have had a shot at possibly turning this around, or at least making it a lot more competitive. Because once that unit gets going, they get going. Because you don't need the Thunderstrike, right? You just move them within 6 inches, and they can get +1 to wound themselves with their stratagem. So. Yep. Anyway, so as I said, I learned a lot of lessons on day one, right? And I just kind of sat down afterwards and we thought about it. I was like, okay, so we went to a restaurant in Grapevine called Tolbert's, which is if you're ever in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Grapevine, Texas, it's just north of the airport. Outstanding main street with all these great restaurants. That's also where the Warhammer Citadel is, so you should go there if you can.
Okay,
yeah. Tolbert's restaurant is across the street and up like a quarter block. And it was founded by the same person who founded the Terlingua chili cook-off.
Okay.
Legit. Anyway. Okay. So my lessons learned from day one was be more careful with getting out of the transports so that you can jump back in if you need to. That was kind of what I was like, okay, I messed that up twice. I'm going to try not to mess that up again. So, all right. Anyway, so day 2, right? Day 2 comes in, and my first matchup on day 2 was Turner Champion. Turner Champion was playing a Canoptek Court list. I have a lot of experience in the Canoptek Court. I hate Canoptek Court, but at least I know what tricks they have, right? So I'm not operating at an information disadvantage, right? And I looked at his list, and he had a bit of an interesting list. I don't think it's the most powerful way you can run Canoptek Court, but it was. I mean, there's nothing you really do with Canoptek Court is bad. So he had a Void Dragon, a bunch of 3 Cryptex. He had the Silent King, which I like the Silent King. I don't think he utilized him to his full potential. He had 2 units of 5 Immortals, 3 Canoptek Doomstalkers, 2 units of Scarabs, a unit of Wraiths, a unit of Death Marks, and a Triox Stalker. So the Wraiths are kind of the centerpiece of this unit, and the Doomstalkers, because the Wraiths can infiltrate when you put that enhancement with a Technomancer with them. They have a 5 Feel of Pain. They have a 4-up Invul save. They're T6. They have 4 wounds. And you can make any Canoptech unit a lone operative, right? They have a reactive move stratagem. It's just, there's so much. You just can't pin them down, right? So, anyway, this was a... this mission was Crucible Bull of Battle and Chilling Rain, and the primary was Purge the Foe, right? So kill more. Hold one, hold more, kill one, kill more. Right.
Great. In Necrons. Great.
Into Necrons. And I literally texted, my brother-in-law who's there at the event with me. I was like, I got Canoptic Court on Purge the Foe. Get out of here. What the hell? So.
Oh no.
Anyway, but he's got a Void Dragon, and my list is designed to kill Void Dragon, right? So, but I know what I'm about, right? I know how to deal with the reactive move rates. So, again, I think I went second. He went first. He just kind of moved up a little bit, developed his position some, drew Area Denial and Overwhelming Force, right? That's a terrible draw for turn 1, right? All right, cool. I drew Bring It Down, Assassinate for turn 1, which is also a terrible draw. I scored neither of those. Right? And then he drew Investigate and Engage, and he used his Death Marks, right, to investigate and did some other stuff. I was able to. So he played the race very cagily, along with the Void Dragon. I kind of moved up a little bit on my right flank with the multi-meltas here. I'll share a screen. I do have some good pictures of this one. Boom, boom. So yeah, on this one,
Oh, look at those bases. You can see them for sure.
Yeah, so he had nice glowy bases he did with a lot of stuff, which is great. So anyway, so this is my deployment zone over here. I'm pointing with my mouse. I don't know if you can see it. So I don't have any presentation tools on this. Do I have any presentation tools on this? Huh. On Zoom, you can get a little laser pointer or whatever. But okay, that's fine. So over here in my deployment zone, you see how my tanks are kind of tucked in like this. So I move the Razorback and the multi-meltas. They jump out over here, right? And I've got to be in this right here is a piece of line of sight blocking terrain. But if I'm in it, I'm seeing through it, right? And so I was trying to shoot and hold him off the objective, but his Scarabs are touching it. And Scarabs are OC0 unless there's a Technomancer near him or a Cryptek near him, which is really frustrating. So, So anyway, this game kind of progresses. We counterplay a lot. I send my Blade Guard into the middle, right, to try and charge through that wall and basically knock him off an objective, which I do. I can't get them into the race, but he manages to pulls the race back. I was able to basically force him to hold the race from not coming forward and messing with my deployment zone and not pushing into me, which with race, that's really about all you can ask for. So this transport right here, that's behind this wall that had the Blade Guard and the Eradicators in it. And this one over here had the Hellblasters. So these bikes right here moved to the right of your screen and down. And then they're what we're able to shoot and get into this into this Doomstalker and eventually kill it. Right. And then I think I had on turn 3 just the best possible secondary draw. I think I got Tempting Target or Cleanse and Deploy Teleport Homers. So I was able to.
Oh, nice.
I had only Samael left at that point, but I was able to move him over just in front of his little wall here, right? Deploy a Teleport Homer with him, right? And then cleanse. I cleansed the middle objective with I think my Deathwing Terminators that dropped in, and that was just. So I had a huge turn on that. And then the last turn of the game, and then I move. Basically, this right here is basically the last turn of the game. So this, I had a repulsor right here, just outside of this little wall, and then his Void Dragon was down here on this objective, and he moved around to try and charge up and threaten this one. but he was standing right here. I had moved a storm speeder over to get line of sight into it. He didn't think that I could move the repulsor far enough to jump out the Hellblasters to get line of sight. But instead, I jumped the Hellblasters out through the wall, advanced them up to just shy of this objective, and then just put everything into them. Right. Yep. So the Hellblasters and the Storm Speeder was able to kill the Void Dragon. Right. So nice. Because he underestimated my movement flexibility. Right. And then the Terminators were holding that center objective because I dropped them. And I had the repulsor there. And next turn, I moved the repulsor up to the center, just sat it there to try and hold it. And he drew, I believe, Storm Hostile and bring it down. And so he had to kill the repulsor and then storm this hot objective, the middle, which was the only one that was hostile to him. And so he had Wraiths and he had a Silent King. So he moved the Silent King out, put 2 of the Menhir, particle beams in the repulsor's butt, killed it, blew it up. It exploded.
Yeah.
Azrael and the Terminators both popped their Watchers. They take, they take a couple of wounds. The explosion, he rolled 6 mortal wounds into his race, lost 2 Wraiths, because one was already injured. And then he had to charge the Wraiths into that objective. So he goes to charge the Wraiths. Azrael overwatches with the Hellblasters. I roll crazy hot. I roll 7 or 8 6s. So they sustain and lethal into 16 or 14 wounds. He loses 2 more Wraiths, right? So he's down to 2, right? Gets his charge in, right? Bounces off the Terminators. The Terminators fight back, kill another Wraith. And then Azrael's squad heroically intervenes into the middle of the board, into the Wraiths. And then Azrael goes and just sunk, get out of here. So that last turn of the game was like a 15-point swing, right? So he failed Storm Hostile, and I got everything, and and I was able to get onto the center of the board. So I got 16 points on primary for my last 2 turns, 78-71, my victory.
Nice.
So, and that was a stressful one. I was falling behind 1 or 2 points the whole game, and so that last turn he drew secondaries. He had to go, and did not anticipate the heroic intervention, and they got it done. So nice. I was very happy with that performance. So I thought I played that very, very well. Anyway, so now I'm a little hyped, right? So I'm 2-3. Okay, whatever, right?
A 2 and
sorry,
you've played 4 games, right?
2 and 2, right? 2 and 2. So next,
all right, I think we know what happens in Game 5 now.
So I initially drew this gentleman's Custodes, and holy crap! Look at this army.
Yeah, that board's pretty sweet.
That is sick.
He's even got the Emperor over here.
Emperor up there. Oh man. Anyway, beautiful board, right? Super cool guy.
Yeah.
And then they said, "Hold up! Don't start playing." 3 minutes later, they said, "We have repaired the round. Now you can start playing." And instead of this, I got more Imperial Knights. So
no.
Because I was like, Custodes, I can Custodes, right? I can F with some Custodes, right? I can do that, right? So I got more Knights. Anyway, so this is Mr. Man. Jeff Whitehead. Jeff
nice,
once again had a lovely army, right? Super cool, right?
I mean, look at the afterglow on his magma on the rocks. Like see how he's two-toned the basing? Yeah, that's a lot of effort.
Yeah. So he's got 3 bigs, right? He's got Canis Rex, a Knight Errant, and a Cerastus Lancer, right? Yeah. And then he's got 1 Helverin and 3 Warglaves and a Calidus. That's it.
Yep. Right? Sounds about right.
So on this one, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to – I see where this is going. I'm going to take I'm going to take fixed. So it was supply. It was supply drop, search and destroy, chilling rain. So I took fixed for bring it down and engage on all fronts. So basically how this game played out, right? So we're in the corner objectives. So you see how these two walls right here. So we said, hey, he can move his armigers through there, but not his big knights. So he basically apportioned his errant, which is the one over here on the back left, right, to go to his right, my left, and the Cerastus and Canis came this direction, and his armigers pretty much 2 went to the middle, 2 went to the left. So he pushed out, and then I spread out to meet him. I sent my multi-meltas and my Hellblasters over to the right with my bikes. I sent my Eradicators, my Blade Guard, over to the left. And then I decided to drop my Terminators in over here as well. I went second. And I left my Blade Guard sitting on my home objective. Because I was like, I don't know if Blade Guard are going to be useful into the...
Yeah.
So, and that's, once again, I realized...
They need a lot to be useful.
Yeah, I need a cheap objective sitter unit. So yeah, I wasn't super impressed with Blade Guard throughout this whole event. That's no impingement on them. It's just my inability to put them where they needed to be. I think they've got and not really drawing stuff that really they played well into. I think if I knew how to play the inny outy tactics that this detachment's supposed to use better, I probably would have done better with them. But anyway, so this all played out very well. So on my left, I moved this repulsor up, right? The Eradicators jumped out and shot into the... he shot the transport or the repulsor with one of his Warglaves. The Eradicators jump out, counterfire, kill it. Gone. Right? So then they're staying out, and then my Terminators drop in on my turn, and between the Terminators and the Eradicators and the repulsor, I do a pretty good amount of damage to his Knight Errant, but I don't kill it. So I'm like, okay. Over here on this side, between the Hellblasters and the Razorback with the Devastators, I take that Lancer down. It's gone. Right. Oh, and I put the Storm Speeder. The Storm Speeder went on to the left because I knew I had a lot of resources over here, and I didn't. I thought I might need more help on the left. So, and then I think the Devastators killed the Lancer almost by itself. So I was able to switch some of my shooting over into the middle and kill one of his and do a lot of work on one of his Warglaves. And then I just continue to push up on this side of the board.
Gotcha.
So that was good. Then so I got like 11 bring it down points on turn 2. Right. He charged.
Nice.
So over on this side of the board over here, up here on the upper right, you can see he charged. He charged the Lancer, the Knight Errant. I jumped the Eradicators back into the transport, right? So, and then when he made contact with the Terminators and the transport, he split his attacks, and it did not. And he tank shocked the transport, didn't kill it, then split his attacks between the transport and the Terminators, and rolled like an absolute potato, right? And didn't kill the transport.
Dang,
didn't kill the repulsor, and didn't kill but like one of the Terminators, right? And it's like, oh man. So then next turn, my Eradicators jump out, right? Everything falls back, right? And the Knight Errant goes up in a mushroom cloud. You'll also notice over here that there's no big knights anymore, right? The Hellblasters jumped out, and then it just Firestorm does what Firestorm does, and just put crazy amounts of high damage firepower down range, and just tore his knights to ribbons. So ended up with me tabling him on turn 4, and I won 80-28. So,
nice.
Yeah. So anyway,
That's what we like to hear. This is the kind of thing I like to hear because like this is the matchup that I dread, that I do terrible with. But it looks like the way you have this list, you have enough little individual pieces that you can attack, because you have to be able to attack, come out, attack, and kill
multiple
multiple
parts of the
knight
board
things
at
in
a
a turn.
time.
Because if
Yeah,
you come out and you
yeah, and with
Yep. Yep.
Firestorm,
Because if you just come in one spot or overcommit, then you have all your stuff out in the middle. Then he just walks over and goes, "Okay, we kill everything. Boom, 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 boom." And that's what always happens to me.
Firestorm is a real good counter to a lot of knights because it makes the Warglaives a lot riskier. You can't put fire into a repulsor with Warglaives because if you don't kill it, those Hellblasters or the Eradicators are going to get out and they are going to punish you. They are going to punish you. Right? And they can't rotate ion shields against that because rotate ion shields is only allowed to be used in your opponent's shooting phase, not your shooting phase. So there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Very good.
Anyway, so I move on to game 3 of day 2. I'm feeling pretty good because I'm right side up. I'm 3-2. Right.
Yep.
And then I pull Mr. J DeCunzo, which is a name I think we've said on this podcast before, because he's playing basically a Dark Angels Firewing list. It's a Vanguard Spearhead.
Nice.
This is the way this is. Oh yeah, sorry. One more thing about this last game. I killed the Lancer. It had 1 wound left, right? And I fill everything back. I killed the Lancer by tank shocking it with a Storm Speeder. Sorry. Just that's how that went down. That's how that went down. And then once
you gotta have time for memes. Yeah. You have to have time for memes.
Cool. So that was that's how. So anyway, here's how this game played out. So he's got this probably a very prototypical Vanguard list. So he has Azrael and a Lieutenant. They're going to go with his Hellblasters, of which he has 10. Then he has Deathwing Knights, an Ancient with a Terminator armor, and the Blade Driven Deep. So he can infiltrate the Deathwing Knights with an Ancient. And then he has an Eradicator squad, the 1, 2, 3 Inceptor squads, 2 of which have Plasma, 1 of which has Assault Bolters, 1, 2, 3 Scout squads, a Calidus, and then a 6-man blob of Centurion Devastators. Yeah, there we go. And so,
all right, that's where it is. That's where it is.
I was like, okay, he's got very little, vehicle-based range firepower. The Centurions I'm concerned about because they're all his range firepower, right? He got Hellblasters; those are range firepower, right? But penalties to hit are a thing, right? I was like, I haven't played into this matchup, so I don't know what his tactics are, and I knew I was at an information disadvantage. So I was like, hey, I know I've seen your name before. I'm going to learn a lot playing you. So let's see how this goes. So anyway, this is what you see as the deployment, or like basically after turn 1 of the deployment. He deployed his Blade Guard, his Terminators basically right here, where you see that little Nova marker. And he just kind of moved. I think I went first. I committed hard. I moved my Eradicators. I moved my Multi-Meltas. They all advanced up to get within range of these guys. I moved the Razorback out to shoot. And I put a whole bunch of Meltifire into those Deathwing Knights. And I killed all but 1 of them on turn 1. Right? Multi-Meltas at Ballistic Seal 4 shooting into -1 to hit because of the Vanguard range. It was not great. But I oathed them, so it worked out okay. Anyway, and that was probably my biggest mistake of this game, right? Because when I was developing my game plan for this I 100% forgot that my Hellblasters ignore damage modifiers. So I should have just said, I'm going to kill these things with my Hellblasters. Instead, I committed all my Melta to do it. What I should have done is save the Melta for these things down here, which are the Centurion Devastators. And Melta is the only thing that scares those Centurion Devastators. Because they have 2-up armor, they're in cover all the time, right? And they're like anyway. So by
Right.
and afterwards we talked out the last turn of the game because I got basically got tabled, but it was uh, he said, yeah, like once you committed the Melta, I was able to just do whatever I wanted with the Centurions, right? And that was, I think, what I was like, okay, that's fair. I had completely forgotten about the help that my champion humanity rule. So because the way he deployed was he had his Hellblasters on foot inside this little building to basically, whatever came into this area right here, he could just move out, shoot, and deal with,
Yeah.
right? And the Terminators were trying to move over here. I should have just let them do that, right? And then move the Hellblasters over here to preserve shooting them like this to basically make him make more decisions about counterplaying with his Hellblasters. Um, so I lost this game pretty thoroughly, but I learned a lot doing it. And the lesson I learned out of this game and probably this day was I needed to be patient because 10th edition is a game of patience, especially when you have as much terrain on the board as we do here.
Yep.
And as much line of sight blocking. So, figuring out how to what I went home with was I need to pre-think and have better ideas about what I'm going to do with these big repulsor hulls to get them into play. Because I've spent at least one game with one of these repulsors just in my backfield, right? And this list works really good when you can get those repulsors forward close to someone, right? And you're hitting owe something and use that +1 wound stratagem, and you're just putting all that low strength, high volume fire, and just tear things apart. And I also forgot that this detachment has a stratagem that lets you jump into your transport at the end of the fight phase. I forgot that until now, until the game 6. I'm like, oh my god! So I said I did not have enough reps, and I knew that. So there's dimensions that this list has that I was not able to access because I just didn't have enough practice, right? So yeah, the Centurions, he basically kept them, just hid them over here.
It does show there's replayability though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'll talk about what I want to do with this later.
Right, right.
Yeah. So
okay.
So
Sorry. Yeah. So it's Centurions.
Yeah. So he basically pulled them up into reserve and dropped them back onto the board over here, right, on like turn 4, and then with that he developed their lines of sight to basically everything, and they just so much shooting, and they just killed everything. So, and then he had little inceptors and scouts uppy downying everywhere, and it was a whole thing. So yeah, and he did say he'd be willing to come on sometime and talk about how he plays this list, which I think we should 100% do. So I'll probably reach out to him at some point in the future. But anyway. So that's the end of day 3. I talked about my lessons learned for day 3. So moving on to day 4. That was the end of day 2. Moving on to day 3, I played Austin Hubert, right? And Austin had kind of a bit of a meme Ironstorm list. So that was there we go. Nope, that's game 8. Anyway, so I don't have pictures of this, I don't think, unless they're on my tablet, and I don't realize it. But what this list did, Mr. Hubert, was... nope, I do not have pictures of it. So he had an Ironstorm list, a Gravis Captain with some heavy intercessors. He had a Justiciar with Blade Guard as well. He had 1 Tech Marine with a target augury web for the lethal hits. Then he had, I said the Blade Guard, he had a unit of 3 Eradicators, he had a Lancer, he had an Inceptor unit with Bolters, he had a Repulsor Executioner, 2 squads of Scouts, and an Astraeus.
All right. Okay.
So I was like, hold on, you mean you don't have a Tech Marine with the ignore damage thing? It's like, nope. You don't have a Tech Marine with Master Machine War? It's like, nope. I'm like, okay. All right. So, and that Astraeus is so big, it can't be deployed in cover or behind line of sight. There's one place on his side, on his deployments where he could put it, right? And it was going to be exposed. right? So he deployed everything and said, "All right."
Oh boy.
And so the fun part was there's another. He had them painted pretty much like Iron Hands. There was a guy on the table 2 down from us that also had an Astraeus in his list. So they traded Astraeuses for the game. So I had an Imperial Fist painted Astraeus, or he had an Imperial Fist painted Astraeus with the rest of the thing. So anyway, he goes first. He just yeets everything forward. Right, the repulsor moves forward, jumps out the blade guard, or the repulsor comes forward, tries to shoot. The Astraeus comes forward, doesn't really get line of sight on anything because I deployed very carefully. Then my turn goes.
It's very good,
and I do the normal thing I do. Right, the Eradicators move through the wall. Right, the blade guard moves through the wall. One of my repulsors moves out. My Hellblasters jump out, and the Thunderstrike slides out, does its thing. And at the end of turn 1, his repulsor was gone. His Astraeus was gone. And when the Astraeus died, he auto exploded it, and that thing deadly demise 2d6. Just so you know.
Ooh, that's spicy.
So
that's super spicy.
It went up big, and it did a lot of damage to stuff. It basically killed my Eradicator unit. It killed several Hellblasters, even through Azrael's mortal wound defense. It took 6 mortal wounds off one of my repulsors. It was a whole thing, right? So my bikes had moved around. They just like zip moved around the flank. I think I advanced everything in my list on turn 1. Just about, and every single thing I advanced rolled a 6. I don't know what happened, but no, that was into the night player, but whatever. So I was able to get into combat as Samael and his bikes into combat with his gladiator, and just kind of hold it up. So it wasn't shooting; it was shooting into combat, right? But so Samael just basically took the gladiator out of the picture for the whole game. So yeah. My blade guard went in, chopped his versus his blade guard, and there was a bit of counterplay on the middle, and that was basically it, right? I killed his repulsor, his executioner, and I tabled him in turn 4. So it was a good game for me, right? It was a instructive lesson in damage output for him. So, but I want to say, hey, you bring in Astraeus, right? You can't hide it. It is what it is, and nothing is that durable.
Yeah.
So, well, some things are just nothing that's a Space Marine. So, yep. So anyway, I mean, Astraeus has good shooting output, right? But it's yeah. Anyway, so going into game 7, I am right side up. I'm 4-3. I'm feeling good. I ate meat and lunch. I'm like, man, I'm happy with how I've done so far in this event, right? So. Game 8, I draw Mr. Mike Hestelo.
Was that game 7? Was that game 7 a little bit later than the first 2 games? Like day 1, game 1, day 2, game 1.
All started at the same time.
Had an early start
all
time,
started
or
at the same
game?
Time. It was all pairings live at 9:30. Right, so we got there about 9. Right, the first day you get there a little early, right, so you can get organized and all this kind of stuff, and then but each day the pairings went live just before 9:30. Right, and they had 3-hour rounds, which is nice, right? And then and then an hour lunch, right? And so the second event, game 2 started at 1:30. So, so anyway, so Mike's list is Who Let the Dogs Out. I looked at it and I said there are 24 Thunderwolves in this list. And I was concerned.
That's brutal.
That is one word for it. This is the deployment. We're long edge short edge to short edge. He's got 3 units of 6 Thunderwolves and a Wolf Lord and a Battle Leader with each one. You only see 2 here. It's because one of them is in reserve and has an enhancement to let it come in on turn 1. And then what's in this? What's in this Land Raider Redeemer? It's 10 Assault Intercessors and Ragnar Blackmane with a lieutenant. So
Yep.
This is
All right.
how, yeah. And then he's got 2 squads of scouts and a unit of defenders, unit of wolves. So I am concerned, right? I have problems with this list. I've never been able to beat this list. And my game plan is basically, so I have got scouts deployed right here, right? And I've got my bikes over here. My game plan is, if I get first turn, I have to push up and try and get his, my deep strike bubble out as far as I can, right? And hope that when the wolves come, they're going to get stalled out and I can get shooting on them. Well, fun fact, that did not happen. So after I move, it's a great land review. Anyway, after turn 1, so after my movement in turn 1, I got my bikes up here. He rapid ingressed behind this piece of cover with 6 wolves, with 6 thunder wolves, 8 and 2 characters, and then I knew I was kind of screwed. So my Deathwing Knights or my Deathwing Terminators, I started on the board and I put them here because I was concerned about. I didn't even think he was going to rapid ingress them. That completely skipped my mind. I was concerned about the Redeemer pushing forward and Ragnar and the Assault Intercessors coming out. That's what my concern was. So I just left a big hole right here. And these guys came in and they just hit that repulsor, tore it to ribbons. The Hellblasters jumped out back here and then shot and killed them all. So I traded a repulsor for one of his unit of wolves. Yep. Right? Okay, that's not bad. He has 2 more, right? And he's going to be able to put them where he wants to put them, and I can't shift fast enough because if you've never played against this White Scars Thunderwolf list, you need to practice against it because it is tough. They have a reactive move stratagem, and then additionally the Wolfguard Battle Leader has a datasheet ability that if you target them with shooting, they can make a D6-inch reactive move, which I believe for bikes is just 6, for bound is just 6 inches, that can end them in engagement range. Be concerned.
Okay.
Be concerned. So I spent a lot of brain power working out how my movement was going to work to counterplay these reactive move stratagems, which basically just gives him all the initiative in the world, right? And I have to commit one way or the other. Right? And they have a stratagem for -1 to hit and wound on a mounted unit, right? Obviously, Champion Humanity ignores that, right? But it just makes it so that when all this Melta jumps out and shoots at this other one, he pops it, and all of my Melta's hitting on 5s, and I oath this other target to make sure that I could kill it. Probably should have gone over here with the oath target. But even then, if you can't kill 12 things that are T6 with 4 wounds and a 4-up invul save, and 2 characters attached, then you're going to be in trouble, right? And then once again, there are 12 more beatstick, dudes in this Land Raider, right? And the Land, this went bad, and I was like, okay, I'm going to screen like this. I can jump back into the transport. It's going to be all this kind of stuff. I put the Blade Guard here to screen them from hitting this transport. If he comes around this way, these guys can jump back in this one. Like if I have to lose the multi-meltas, I lose the multi-meltas. But I'm not going to charge them. I'm going to charge these guys and then pile into them. Okay, well I can't use that. So it was a thorough whooping. So yeah.
Oh, I saw a lot of missing pieces there.
Oh yeah, no, I got wrecked. So this was the only game that I did not think I had the tools to play into. But after talking with them, I think I know what to do. I'm going to go back and share this again. And I think, so from here, so back to the deployment zone. So what I think I should have done, right? And I think the way to play this list is I deployed the scouts conservatively. I think if you have 2 units of scouts, right, which I see a lot of Space Marine players do, and I'm going to start doing it probably in all my lists, is into stuff like this, which has aggressive scout moves, or like he can't move these mounted units through the walls. They have to come out this way, right? They have to come out this way. So if I put deploy the scouts 9 inches from his deployment zone, and then I get turn 1, I just scout move them 6 inches forward, right? And that basically blocks him into here, and he has to spend a turn eating scouts. right?
Yep.
And
Nope.
that lets
That's a
me
good call.
hopefully push to the middle of the board, right, and set up more shooting kill traps, and start getting primary. Now, that being said, if you don't get that, right, you just basically spread them out. Once again, scout, move forward, right? Hopefully, block them up, right? Because that will basically give you a speed bump to allow that you're a little more comfortable deploying your. So I would have been more comfortable deploying my transports up here on the deployment zone line, and so I would have probably put the repulsor over here, right, and the Razorback up here, so the repulsor can move this way. The Razorback can come out. Oops, my bad. In through this mid board right here, or deploy it like that, right, so that I could try and hold mid board. I don't know if I would have been able to still. I don't know. I still haven't figured out what it takes to beat this list, but I think that's the next step, right? Is you just can't cede the mid board to them, because even if you can kill your way out, they've just ran the primary up on you. So that's the only thing I would have changed about this list. What I think I change about this is, if you'll indulge me. Sorry, any questions about that while I look my plans up, and we can transition to the next part here?
Well, just the other observation, right, is so because you were so far back from your deployment zone and you had nothing in the middle of the board, right, he was able to rapid ingress on your turn one, a big blob behind line of sight blocking cover,
Yeah.
where you had no way to draw line of sight to it. So if you had scouts in that building, yeah, they're probably going to get charged, or because you're afraid of springboarding, right, the wolves that are in the back into the midboard into the rest of your army. But the problem with but you weren't thinking about the rapid ingress. But the bigger threat is, well, what happens when he just turn one rapid ingresses into the middle of the board, and then suddenly the wolves at the back of the board aren't so scary.
Well,
so if you had the scouts there, that would have pushed them back a little bit.
So the wolves don't deep strike. They rapid ingress from strategic reserve, which means a board edge. So if you hold, so there was a little bit more opportunity to do that, right? And so like if anyone tells you, oh, I have a thing that lets me, coming off the board, arrive from reserve one turn earlier, you should just immediately think he is going to rapid ingress them. That's what you do. Like if he goes first, he rapid ingresses them.
Gotcha.
Right, or if he goes first, right, then all of other stuff goes. If you go first, that's the ideal for him. So he rapid ingresses, and then you can't, if they're big, chunky things like this, especially with all the line of sight blocking terrain, then they're protected, and they just heavy cavalry go forward, right? So that's yeah. So anyway, what I think I'm going to do with this list is, I said I want to add another. I'm going to drop the Blade Guard. I want to add another unit of scouts. So minus the Blade Guard and the Judiciar saves me about 250 points. So I add more scouts, and then 130 points for an Inceptor squad, right? And that's pretty much breaks even. And then if you want to get more fancy,
nice.
I think they're. Man, that Razorback Devastator unit is so good. It's so good. I'm tempted to try and do that with, if not with more multi-meltas, then with grav cannons, because those are 3 flat damage. So, and strength 6 and they're anti-vehicle 2+. So if you shoot the vehicle, guess what? You're rerolling 1s, right? And anything else, hey, they're still strength 6. So, They'll do a lot of work. The only concern is they're of limited utility into Terminators because they're only AP1. But yeah. So
do Hail Strikes work on them?
Only into infantry. Hail Strikes only work into infantry. So if you're shooting them in infantry, then
I knew there was a catch.
You would have to, the Hail Strikes only work into infantry, I think, or things that are not monsters and vehicles. I'm not entirely sure. I have to check the Hail Strikes rules real quick, which I will do. But okay, so anyway, overall,
no worries.
Overall, this is a great event. If you guys have not played, if anyone is concerned about playing in a GW event, I highly encourage you to do so. Hailstrike is anything that is not monsters or vehicles. The additional point of AP works. So um,
Gotcha.
the GW events are nice, like the long rounds, right? Authoritative TOs and judges. They did an Age of Sigmar reveal premiere. They did a 40k reveal premiere where they showed the new Canoness with jump pack. That was a cool model. They had a Warhammer store there, right? They gave me a $10 credit for the Warhammer store. They had demo games for Kill Team. They had demo games for the new Age of Sigmar 4th edition. They had a swag box, right? The swag box is dope, right?
Nice.
Like there were two versions of the swag box. Two versions of the swag box, right? One came with the following things I'm about to show you, right? It came with this notebook, right? Look at this, right? This
Oh,
pen,
nice.
right? A Warhammer US Open branded pen, right? And this notebook has a little spring strap right here. It's hardbound, right? With like this is a nice book. I think I'm gonna
Ooh.
like I might actually this might actually become one of my work notebooks. Um, it came with a koozie, right?
And we said there were no new releases.
Yeah. It came with I got a nice little coin, U.S. Texas Open coin.
Yeah.
It came with it's just a lot of little cool stickers and stuff. And I don't know how they knew, but it came with a set of big badass Dark Angel stickers. In addition to
Oh,
Orcs,
nice.
Chaos, Skaven, a bunch of stuff, right? And it also
Nice.
came with a metal dice, right? This is a very dense metal D6. And then there was a premiere pack you could get if you
Nice.
bought like the fancy version. And that came in this little box right here. I did not initially get it, but when I saw people had it, I went back and I bought one separately. So it opens up, and it came with this nice stamped metal measuring widget, 3-inch, 2-inch, 1-inch.
Oh, yeah.
Comes with a bunch of these little wound counters, and these are little deployment zone measuring or deployment zone things, and there's 3 of these, and they magnetize end to end. And it also has some little
Oh, nice.
acrylic. I don't know exactly what these are for, but yeah. So anyway, cool swag, good event, well run. Everything progressed on time. 3 hours is absolutely enough time to finish a round. Really nice armies, right? I ran into Mike Brandt, right, and Nate Goodfellow, which you guys I know you both know. So overall, really enjoyed it. 3 days, 8 games. I was cooked. Happy to be done.
Yeah.
But two of the 2 table war bosses were out there.
One of the things about Tournament Warhammer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just saying, the one of the things about Tournament Warhammer is once you get there, you want to play the least amount of Warhammer that you can, because you sign up, you don't quite realize what you've signed yourself up for when you say, I want to play 8 games of 40k in 3 days.
And
after about game 4, you're like, why did I do this to myself? So that's where having those practice reps, getting the games down to 2 hours, if you can do that, it takes having that hour break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is so nice, right? Especially going into a lunch break where you have a 2-hour break between games.
To regain
your brain needs it, man.
to regain some mental capacity. Yeah, and they have a half-hour break between rounds 2 and 3, which was also very necessary, right? So and then cool. Other than that, I mean, so that was my event experience. I bought a couple of things, but whatever. So I was painting real hard up until the last minute. I'll show you some of the stuff I did. But all right, God, I've been talking for so much. Right, let's move on. So
it's all good. At least your internet's the one that's good. So as long as you talked, we knew we were going to get good footage.
Yeah.
All right. So hobby challenge. So you had a lot to work on. So what did you get done for this tournament?
So
I can remember exactly what you agreed to.
I painted
last month. But I know you were working on stuff.
So I painted a Devastator unit. So 4 multi-meltas, and I used the sergeant I already had. I'll pull them out.
Alrighty. I know. I held myself honest. I got mine done,
So
but mine was just a build.
so I painted 4 Devastators, built and painted 4
Yeah.
Devastators with multi-meltas. Did a little bit of experimentation with some fluorescent paints to try and get some of the glow on the meltas. And then
Okay. Yeah.
I've had this guy for a long time. He's been painted, but I just kind of touched up the paint job a little bit to put a bit more shading on the cloak. Um, and then the thing I spent probably the most time on, if you'll excuse me for a second.
No worries. Just gonna chill here with my monthly hobby challenge guy. And just a little secret, I did choose smoke as we talked about, so that's a little hint. If you don't remember or haven't watched last month's episode on what I said I would do.
So I went through and I did my table war trays up real proper like. So
Oh, nice.
and so these are all steel trays in
Yeah.
there. All my stuff has magnets on the bottom, so I could flip it upside down and nothing comes out. Right, and so these are all modular. So I drilled screws in there, and these have little magnets in there, so it just, bam, just like that. So
Nice.
all right, and that took a lot of effort, more than I care to admit, and a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
earth,
I
a
can believe
lot
it.
of earth to make it look like I had something resembling a
Yeah.
display board. But I got a lot of compliments about my army, which was nice. 'Cause I don't really consider myself a painter, but yeah.
Well, and then again, that's another fun thing about like a big takeaway from these kind of big events. If you're, like when I went 1-7 back in October, like having people come up and talk to you about the way you think, asking you questions about that. Like there's so much more to the experience than just winning your game.
Yeah.
Like yes, we want to win our games. Like we're gamers. We like to play games. We like to win. But there's so much more that you can get out of it if you go with the mindset of like, all right, if I'm not going to win, I'm going to, you know, talk to somebody about painting, or go up to somebody that's worked on something or has something that I want to work on and ask them how they did it, because people love, they're just as passionate about it as we are, right? And they want to talking about what they've done,
Yep.
what they put hours of their life into when they didn't have to, right? This is an elective hobby. And so if you give someone a chance to share their passion with you, man, you can have a lot of fun. So don't be afraid to ask questions and talk to people at these things, because people, once they get going, they'll, even though they may not seem like it at first, they love to talk about what they're working on.
Yep.
You're just going to probably hear at some point how bad Erebus is, though, like how he's the worst Space Marine, or someone's going to talk about
Erebus.
Gilliman and his elf girlfriend.
We don't even need to get into that.
Various memes they've seen on the internet that I may or may not be sharing.
Heresy is detected. Heresy is detected. So, all right.
Warhammer X, aka Twitter's gotten a little wild recently with the Gilliman tweets. Anyway, my hobby challenge, I found a hand. So this is how I did it, Heath. I got the new book out of the new kit.
Mm-hmm.
Got Asmodai here. Did not cut off. Well, you don't have to cut off the hand, because the hand, the sort of separates. You just kind of file off the end or cut off the end and smooth the joint. And then it was in the Intercessor box, like the regular bare bones multi-kit Intercessor box. There is a hand, let's see here, this is a left hand that's kind of open, and it doesn't fit super well, but I got it to work, glued it in there, held it in place till it dried, and it worked.
Nice.
It molded with the plastic glue, so it's in there pretty tight. It's pretty strong.
That looks good, man. That's cool.
Like it doesn't move. But you got but the book works. So and then I kind of cocked his head, so he's looking over the book at you. So he definitely has this look of like, look at the book right here. This is what you did.
This is what you did.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And
can't wait to see it painted.
I will tell you, the smoke is goofy. That might end up being next month's hobby challenge. Once it stops raining and I can actually prime things, that's been the killer. Is I can build stuff, I just can't prime them. But I will let you know that like, definitely dry fit the smoke. I didn't do it as much as I should have, and it took some trial and error and some frustration to get it to go where it was supposed to go. But it does like lay down flat. Like it's not on a base right now, and it'll stand up flat. There's no like poking out bit on it. So, and I do that mostly because sometimes I find it hard to get into the crevices of things, like when I'm painting with I'm on a base. So I've just gotten to the habit of not putting things on bases, priming them, painting them, and then at the end basing them. Even though he has like a big chunk of this is his base, like he has a little special molded base with yield smoke here, but
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely a fun, very quick, easy to assemble. He's not very many pieces for as detailed as he is. There's not that many pieces to him, and because he's basically painted all black, like he's gonna paint real fast. So definitely a big fan of that guy. So what do we want to do for next month? I mean, I can try and find time to get this guy primed and painted up. Unless there was something. What did you pick up at the con that you want to get built before the next episode?
I got a pair of Ravenwing command squads, so I was tempted to maybe try and go big. Go big. Go.
Why do you say that?
Do the multi. Get the company of hunters working. Okay.
I got one too.
Screw it. Let's do it.
I haven't built.
Let's do it.
All right. I think we know what we're doing.
Okay. So there is something worth mentioning, just to kind of back a little bit. We have not addressed, and maybe we'll address in the next episode, or because we're getting a little long here, but they have announced the new season, the new cards, because we're moving out of Leviathan and back into the Pariah Nexus. Yeah. So that is going, and they say that battle line is going to be very important. So I'm interested in Company of Hunters because in Company of Hunters, your Outriders are battle line. So having high speed, high toughness, multi-wound battle line units in your bikes, I think could be a thing that maybe makes the Company of Hunters advantageous. So my brother-in-law and I were...
And a lot of attacks, like a lot of attacks.
Yeah, we were designing some Company of Hunters lists based on some of the tech we saw at the game, because he played Eldar and just got frustrated by a lot of Space Marine shenanigans. He's like, they have this. I'm like, yeah, I don't take those. He's like, why not? They're so good. Like, it doesn't really fit with my theme. But yeah. So anyway, so I might try, really forcing Company of Hunters to be a thing. And I said, I think this I could continue to refine this Firestorm into a very, very strong list. So, hey, speaking of that, community interaction, Mr. at Toby Bennett says, hi guys, thanks for reviewing my Firestorm list. I refined it and went 4-1 at a 252 player GT in Oxford, UK. If you want to chat, let me know, sir. We will reach out. Let's say we don't. All right, we don't have the opportunity, but to do this once every so often. Hopefully, that will be. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of guests we want to bring on. Because we got to get Toby, right? We got to get Jay to talk about how to play Vanguard. I probably time to get Adam and or Alan back on here again as well. So we might have to go to
based on Alan's comments that he's got here.
Yeah.
P.S. Thunderstrike doesn't buff itself. That was a question I remember you asking, Gerard. And it's when it's shot, so it takes effect after all the other guns have shot. Glad to hear. So this is also Wraith Raider. So Alan is saying, glad to hear you guys had a good time at Adepticon. Tried the 2 Storm Raven Iron Storm lists, and it was strong. Despite me having 0 practice games, I ended up only going 3-2. But that was because I met a Sister's Army designed to kill this very list. Oh, that's always fun to run into. And a Black Templar Ironstorm list designed to win in a mirror match. Also a great thing to run into. I did beat a very good and strong Tau list with a player who thrashed me twice before. Revenge is best served cold, I guess, or Dark Angel-y cold.
Or with plasma.
So it shows the strength of it. Not my playstyle, though. Yep, hot plasma. Not my playstyle, though. I'm determined to make the Inner Circle Task Force work. Players have a 22% win rate at the time of writing this, whereas mine is 60%. And then the side note, 3 more wins with that Task Force and RTT, and he got first place. So Alan is finally cracking the code the way we knew he would. So we're going to have to get him to come back and talk about it.
Yep.
So I'm super stoked about that.
Cool. So yeah, lots
So,
to do.
Any other final thoughts?
No, man. We got a lot to talk about. So we need to do this more often. We got more stuff to talk about than we have time. No, let's
Yeah.
call it. Let's call it. So you can go back to watching the Indy 500.
Yeah, alrighty. So, thank you all for listening to this month's episode of the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. Our next episode will come out towards the end of June-ish, into July. For those of you that live overseas, right, there's a pretty big holiday where Heath and I are from, so that is definitely going to mess up the schedule probably a little bit because of my work and or Heath's work and timing, right?
We'll see how it
I
goes.
don't want to mention it because some of the audience might be offended, will be offended by the name of it. So please subscribe, like, and comment below if you're watching on YouTube and listening to us on your preferred podcasting service. Last but not least, we'd like to thank Purple Planet for the use of their music. Until next time, I'm Bailey from Dank Wargaming.
This is Heath, Team Table War Hawaii.
Stay loyal, Angels.